Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with the Contoured Chemist. All right guys, today is all about contouring. I'm gonna do a little bit of troubleshooting with you guys. I'm gonna go over the 3 most common troubleshooting issues I go over with clients, and then how we can correct them, how you know if it is a color issue, an application issue, and how we can get the perfect contour for your preference. If you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. All right, friends, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start out by just showing you how I typically see most people applying 3D foundation and their contour. And then we're gonna break it down of why you might not be getting the results you want based on that method, how you can easily tweak it, of course. I apologize if you hear craziness. My cats are in playful mode, playing with Nerf darts, because that is my life. So let's go ahead and get started. On this side, I'm going to just apply my normal contour color, how I normally see those on social media applying their shades. So you might see the dot method or the line or a combination of both. Okay, so with this method, you are easily able to see what? Placement, right? We can easily see that contour goes in kind of a 3 formation around our face. So along the hairline, this is what creates framing of our face. It can actually make your forehead look shorter or more narrow depending on how it's applied, but for the most part, we hit the hairline. Then we go under the cheekbone. That's what you most likely see when people are speaking of contouring. That is what is like a push-up bra for our face, right? It makes our cheekbones high, lifted, and gives us that natural definition that our face has, but we kind of lose when we put foundation all over it, right? And then we got under the jawline, and this is what gives us definition along our jaw and helps us kind of blend down our neck. We can also contour the nose to slim it, and of course, detail contouring to make our lip look bigger. It's all just playing with light and dark. Can you see the shadow? Okay, that's all you're doing, is you're putting shadow where you want more dimension in your face. Where our face naturally has shadow, we use the darkest shade in our 3D foundation, which is contour. Now, the cool thing about 3D foundation is that, in fact, this contour will give us coverage. So you technically don't have to layer unless you need to. Okay, so I'm gonna go over here and apply my foundation like I normally do because of my issues. And this might not be your issues, but we're gonna go over some common issues that this can create and how we can correct it. All right, so now this side. So now I've color corrected and I have my main highlight shade on, which with this method, it's very difficult to do if you're going to do the paint by numbers technique and just place your contour on first. The reason why I cannot do that is because, I don't know if you could see, my entire contour line has hyperpigmentation. I have rosacea across my face. You can probably tell the difference in redness here and here. If you are applying your contour first and you aren't getting enough coverage in your contour areas, use your highlight. Your highlight will give you more coverage, okay? It's also going to, if you have rosacea or any redness at all in a contour area, it's gonna neutralize out that redness. So then when you apply your contour isn't gonna be pulled as orange or as red. So I'm using the coolest contour at my skin tone level. And you'll notice when I blend this out, it will still look red. But when I put it on this side, it won't be nearly as red as this side because I neutralized out my redness first. I'll also get better coverage and wear time on this side. I've done a side-by-side wear time test video as well that you can see the difference between layering versus not layering. I can link that below. So one of the first issues people come to me with is, am I wearing the wrong color? Because it's pulling red on me. It's making my hyperpigmentation stand out. It's not giving me enough coverage, or it's not lasting on my face. So the number one thing I ask is, what are you wearing under your makeup? Is it all silicone free? Because even our setting spray, if you're using this as a primer, has silicone in it. A lot of stuff, unfortunately, on the market nowadays does. So my first question for you is always, does anything you're putting under your makeup have silicone in it? 9 times out of 10, it does. And if you are noticing that everything on your face is just fading within a few hours, and that for sure is contour and lip and cheek, that's usually a big indicator to me that you have silicone under your makeup. Silicone causes our creams not to stick, and it will just fade really quickly on some people. The second thing is, if you have a lot of redness or depth in your contour area and you are using a contour there and it's just not lasting, sometimes you need to color correct first. Especially if you're using a contour shade maybe a touch too light for you, depends on what you were matched with. I personally get far better longevity from my contour when I layer it. I also get my hyperpigmentation to blend better. It doesn't emphasize, and it lays better on my skin. So, the second thing about the wrong color is it emphasizing texture? So usually I hear one or two things. I either hear it's not blending at all, or it's making me look dead, or like I just said before, it's making me look orange or red. It's pulling warm. So those are two different things. If it is not blending, you need to go one warmer. If it is pulling warm, you need to go one cooler. Okay, so here is our hierarchy, if you will, of contour shades. Okay, first we have walnut. Walnut and aspen are very light. Okay, walnut is warm and aspen is cool. I will be honest, if I've ever color matched you, you've never been color matched to either of these shades in the past 4 years when I figured out I knew what I was doing. I never will color match you to these as a contour color. I might have 2 clients out of thousands that can wear these as a contour shade. I personally feel they're better color correctors than contours because most people, and I will get to this, complain that their color is too light or they can't see it. So these two totally get it. If you're trying to wear aspen or walnut as a contour and you can't see it, yes, without a doubt in my mind, it's too light for you. It's very rare that somebody can wear those colors. I find just by wearing one darker allows you to apply less, get better coverage and better longevity. And so I'm not going to color match you to those. At least I haven't in a very long time. Okay, the next is what I consider a mid-level contour. If you are amber or lighter, you can wear a mid-tone. If you come to me and say you can't see it, your issue is one of these other things that we'll get to in a minute. You will most definitely can see it. I can wear all of these, and I wear darker highlights than amber, okay? So you can see it, you just are suffering from one or two of the next troubleshooting issues, okay? So we have stone, okay? Stone is the warmest of all of our contours. Then we have olive. Olive is one cooler, but still pulls warm, I'd say on 95% of people. If you're using olive and it's pulling you warm, meaning you feel like it almost looks like a bronzer, I suggest going down one cooler to henna. So olive and henna are, well, olive is technically neutral. I'll be honest, in my opinion, I feel like henna is more neutral than olive. Olive, I don't know if you can tell in this, you can probably tell. I feel like the swatches sometimes are deceiving. I feel like you can tell better almost in the 10. Can you see how much warmer this is than henna? Okay, so we have stone, olive, henna, and ash. Those four are all at the same depth, okay? They're just different undertones. So if you're using one, say you're using olive and you're saying it's pulling too warm, you need to go one cooler, which means you need to try henna, okay? Say you're using ash. Ash is the coolest of all of those. This one is great if you have redness, okay? If you have extreme redness, you need to use the coolest contour at your level, all right? So if you're using ash though, and it's not blending, or it's looking really patchy, or you have a lot of scarring or texture there, you need to go one warmer and go to henna, all right? So if henna is pulling warm, you need to go to ash. Does that make sense? So it just depends where you are in this. Usually if you have redness, you've been given ash or henna, depending on the depth of your redness and of course your overall tone. And the rest is honestly personal preference. I can wear all of these, but I don't like all of them on me, okay? So it depends if you want to have a really warm look and say skip the bronzer and just contour with a warmer shade, or do you like a more natural looking contour, meaning it's the most gray, it looks most like a natural shadow. It's personal preference that you just have to figure it out. Sometimes you just have to try them and see which one's working best for you. But as long as you are within that general skin tone, you will be able to use these. I can wear them, I just have to apply more than I like to in order to see it. Does that make sense? Okay, so after ash, we have Astoria, which is what I applied here, and indigo. So there's only one shade at those levels. You can tell. And Astoria is like darker than these, but it's not as dark as indigo. Indigo is the only one at that level. Cola is the only one at that level. Shadow is a completely different story I'll get to in a second. Okay, so if you are, I'd say sandy, mango, even goddess, you can wear Astoria, okay? Now you might be saying, okay, but I wear amber and I wear Astoria. That's completely fine. You don't have to apply as much, but just know that if you are very fair and you're trying to wear Astoria, most likely it's going to be harder to blend out on your skin tone and it can tend to be more patchy, okay? So Astoria is the coolest. It's like the big sister to ash. It's cool, but it's much darker, okay? So if you have darker skin like me and redness like I do, you want to stick with Astoria. Now, you guys have seen me use indigo time and time again because I love it. It's beautiful, but it is it's technically neutral, but it is a lot warmer in comparison. This one's a little dry. I've got my ride or die down here. It's pretty warm, okay? Meaning when I wear it, especially if I try to wear it like this without color correcting first, it pulls straight up red on me, okay? It looks so warm, I can't really wear it. Now, if I do color correct, I can definitely wear it, but I know it's gonna give me a bronzier look, because if you naturally have redness and you're using a shade with warmth, of course it's gonna pull warmer on you than it would somebody with no redness, right? So those two are kind of in a league of their own. I'd say once you get over Goddess, you kind of have to wear indigo. And then once you get into the deep tones, you can even go up to Cola. And if you're wearing something like Mirage or Muse, you have to wear Cola. Now, shadow is a classification all by itself. And it always floors me that so many people don't realize that you should never be color matched to shadow, okay? Please, if you are using shadow, it's not designed for the face. I've always believed it has a different formulation. It seems almost creamier to me. And as you guys know, our contours are very dry. They're designed to be dry, so that there's nothing wrong with them if they are. And you can always melt them down to get them a little bit creamier if you live in a drier climate per se. But shadow has always been different, in my opinion. It wasn't designed for the face. It is the grayest. You can probably tell just from looking. It's the very grayest, meaning it has little to no warmth whatsoever, okay? It is the coolest contour we have, and it's designed for noses, okay? I call it detail contouring. So if you want to do under your lip, noses, it's great for brows. Actually, I wore it in my eyebrows for a really long time. But on the face, it's going to be real hard to blend. I would say, honestly, if you've been color matched to it, most likely it is not your shade. I would say maybe there are some very, very rare circumstances if you are dark complected. I'd say at least my color, and have extreme rosacea to where Astoria even pulls super warm on you after you've color corrected. Then you might need shadow, okay? But if you have a lot of texture on your skin, you are not gonna like it, because it can tend to it will stick into every pore. Does that make sense? Indigo is also a rare bird, and I talked about this a little bit in my Get Ready With Me this month. Indigo tends to be one that truly needs a smooth canvas for application. I've never seen a shade but indigo tend to be dependent on your skin's exfoliation. But it truly, after 5 years of listening to clients and troubleshooting with them, it's just the nature of this shade. It can tend to be difficult to blend if you haven't exfoliated. So for me, I tend to make sure it's like a day I've exfoliated that I'm gonna wear indigo. And if I do apply it and it's not blending out and it's sitting patchy, I will totally just dip into Astoria and apply right over it, and it always blends it out. Now that is rare, because normally you go warmer if it's not blending, and indigo is warm. So that's what's weird about it. But I promise the rest of the rules, especially within these mid-tone ones, they follow the rules. Unfortunately, we just don't have a lot of shades at this depth. Hopefully one day we will. But right now we just have Astoria and indigo if you're a little bit dark. So I'm not saying lighter skin tones can't wear indigo. I've seen it, it's beautiful, but I definitely recommend exfoliating. And remember, the darker you go with your contour, it can be harder to blend out the lighter your skin tone is. So I have been asked by clients before, what if indigo, say they're been matched to Astoria or indigo, and Astoria won't blend out on them, indigo's pulling too red, what do? We don't have any other options. You can either go down, I'd probably say go down to henna, and you're gonna have to apply it more heavily, or do what I do, which is I mix these all the time. I literally will just go dot, 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 dot. Is that the, yeah, those are the two. And I just apply it mixed. It's a beautiful color when mixed. So that's also an option. If you like to make your own shades, grab one of each, scrape out half, melt them together, create your own perfect custom shade in the ratio you want. You can totally try it out and see what works for you. Know that our skin changes on the daily. So get yourself a gel razor. I'll link it down below if you don't know what I'm talking about. I notice the biggest difference if I just shave my face. This seems to be an area that it's just this right here is the area. I don't ever notice issues with blending anywhere but under my cheekbones, but that is the one area that the blend is very important, right? We don't want to look like we just have a stripe on our face the rest of the day. We don't want it to look obvious. We want it to look natural, but defined, and to really frame our face. Once you know you have the right colors, if it is not giving you adequate coverage, try applying your highlights first. This is the best way to build up coverage. With our makeup, the best way is to build up in thin layers. And since building up contour is difficult to then blend it out and have it still look natural, the only way to truly get more coverage is to use your highlight, okay? There's nothing wrong with layering. The only issue is if you are applying way too much product. Excess is not our friend, right? But as long as you have the tool I'm gonna end with, you are good to go. All right, so now I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna blend this out. Now, obviously there's multiple brushes, there's multiple ways to blend. I'm just gonna grab one that most people use. I'd say most people have the 3D brush, and then they blend this out. And this is what I see them do. You see how easily that blended? Whoops, I missed a spot. Okay, our contours are not hard to blend. And I feel like, I don't know if maybe people think they're gonna be hard because they're so dry. But what I see 9 times out of 10 is people just taking their brush and blending it out. Okay, but if you can see, so the dot method, in my opinion, I can't even tell a difference between this side with no contour and this side where I put dots, okay? So there's 2 issues that we have left. And one of them is not applying enough, okay? The dot method, in my opinion, is hard to control. Do you really know how much you just picked up with your finger? And do you really know if that's gonna give you adequate coverage and shadow to your face, right? And then the second was over blending, which I just did. Our contours are not hard to blend. In fact, they blend out too easily for most people. And the other issue is that they blend it all away, to where this is the people that come to me and say, my contour isn't dark enough, I can't see it. That is almost the darkest contour we have. It is the contour I wear every day. It most definitely is dark enough for me, but I didn't apply enough product and I over blended it, okay? So how do you control the amount of product? How do you control the way you blend? Because here, instead of the dot method, I did this stripe. Can you tell? I mean, I blended it the way I don't recommend, which is back and forth, but I can still see a stripe on my face. Can you see all the hyperpigmentation peeking through? Yeah, that's why I use this method, because it does not give me coverage. It makes me look dirty, okay? Dirty is also one that tends to be thrown around. And when you look dirty, usually it's too cool. Now, this is my color. I promise it's my color. But over that redness, it looks super dirty. It almost looks green. It's kind of sitting in areas. It's not blending out seamlessly, right? Okay, let's go down here. I feel like the jawline is an area that doesn't give people many issues. You just blend it down the neck, okay? But this is not a defined contour. This should not be a defined contour. These should be shadows. This can be defined if you like it, okay? I was asked the other day, somebody was saying, but my contour isn't defined. Defined contour is purely how you're applying it. I mean, you can apply contour 100 different ways, but it is your brush choice and the way you blend it, whether it's gonna look defined or it's gonna look like you smeared something on the side of your face, okay? It's completely, has nothing to do with color, has nothing to do with even the amount of product you put on your face. It does have to do with how you blended it and how you applied it though. Does that make sense? So over here, I'm gonna kind of blend my, I forgot I put highlight on this way, which if you've ever seen my videos, you know I don't recommend, but I wanted you guys to see a full comparison of how I do my face. I mean, it looks like I have no coverage over here. I applied highlight. Okay, so I haven't blended out my nose contour here, but I'll show you guys the cat hair. Every video, cat hair. There's cats flying around here. Okay, so we established this motion doesn't work very well, does it? Okay. Now, the brush choice, if you're gonna use your fingers to apply, you've gotta realize that you're creating a stripe. You can't really control application the same way with your fingers that you can a brush, okay? I do feel like the jawline, nose, and forehead, you can use your fingers, and as long as you blend out with a brush, it will not affect the way those areas truly look. But the cheekbones can be difficult. It's the most difficult part of the face to apply contour, in my opinion, because it can easily get skewed, right? So we're gonna let's look at placement first, okay? Now you might be thinking, well, Sarah, I can really control with my fingers where I placed it. And I did, I put it right under my cheekbone, okay? But when I blended that out, what happened? It naturally blended in farther than I like. I usually say stop around here, but it's starting to go in here, okay? So we go roll it under the cheek from the top of the ear to the corner of the mouth. That's the invisible line. You can tell I went along that line, okay? We're gonna do the same thing over here, but we're gonna apply it with a brush. Now, we have two main, I'd say, contour brushes. The 3D brush, and this one was designed for you to use this round end, or the detail, which this one, in my opinion, is just full on contour. Like, I use this for other things, but this brush is my ride or die contour forever and ever. Amen, right? Now, I've seen people use this. I'll be honest, I find this brush so hard to use as someone who's contoured with every brush a million different ways, and I don't recommend it for contouring. You might be able to kind of cup your cheekbone here, but then it's hard to blend in the way I have found. I have to apply my contour in order to not expose my redness and hyperpigmentation. So this is for all of you that might have acne in through here, might have scarring, might have rosacea or hyperpigmentation like me, might have just depth in that area that needs to be color corrected first, and you've tried this way and you're not getting a good blend like you want, or when you blend it out, suddenly everything's showing again, okay? You're gonna have to apply strategically, okay? This is how my contour looks exactly the same. Every single time I contour, I don't change anything, and it gives me precision and the least amount of work possible. I know a lot of people like this method because they're like, that's the easiest way, Sarah, you just draw it on. But you know how much, if you're not doing this to blend it, which, I mean, if I was to keep going, you wouldn't see that. I mean, it's just blending it all away. You can't see an actual contour on my face anymore. So with this method, you could still blend it out with a brush and have it look good, but you're gonna be spending more time blending than applying, okay? So yes, the application is fast, but in order to get that to blend out beautifully, it's gonna take more work because you put a lot of product in a small straight line, and if it stays in that line, you're still gonna see that line on your face. You're not gonna see, I like to call it ombre, okay? It's gonna make the most natural looking shadow on your face. The way I'm gonna show you won't move the product underneath, so you're gonna get better coverage. It won't expose anything underneath what you might have on your skin, and it's going to apply and blend at the same time. In my opinion, I can do it faster. If you guys don't know, I'm all about efficiency. How can I put on my makeup as fast as possible, but yet get the look I want? Because this might be fast for some people. I guarantee you I can get this side on just as fast because I've been doing it. It's gonna look 10 times better than this side. And so I'm not willing to sacrifice for speed when I'm not gonna like my makeup, right? Like, what's the purpose? Yes, sometimes you might be running out the door and you have to make some sacrifice just to get it on your face. But daily, I'm doing this. Okay, so we're gonna hold our contour brush. We're gonna hold our contour, same color I used over here. This does not pull me as warm. You'll notice I still pull a little warm with the coolest contour. Okay, so I always hold my detail brush at a 90 degree, or is that 45? This is 90, 45 degree angle, okay? So this has a very straight edge. So if you want a defined contour, you have to use this brush, in my opinion. This is going to feather it out more. This is not gonna give you that strong line. This, no. You can try to carve it out later with highlight, but again, I'm in for efficiency. I want to just put it on, blend it at the same time, and be done and not have to clean it up, okay? So for the most efficient, I'm gonna go at a 45 degree angle, and I'm just gonna tap, tap, tap into my contour with some pressure. Now, if you've seen my videos on the highlights, I never recommend swiping or using a lot of pressure because our highlights are very creamy. Our contours are not. They are extremely dry. So if you are having issue number 2, which is not applying enough, if you can see it on your brush and then you touch your face and you can see it on your face, you've applied enough. Now, if you then, well, after you're done blending, you can't see it anymore, guess what? You're an overblender, right? So you've got to figure out where your issue is. That's why we troubleshoot. But if you are dabbing in with some pressure, you're going to have plenty of product on that brush in order to see it, okay? Now, over here, I had plenty, but guess what? I overblended it, okay? I like this method because I can control everything about it. I can control exactly the placement on my brush. I can control the exact amount on my brush, give or take, depending on how old this is and dried up it is. I know how much is on my brush right now, right? And I know it's not going to cover this entire wide area. This is too wide for my face, which is why I do it at an angle. This right here is where I'm going to touch the deepest part of my shadow. You can tell I naturally have a shadow. I'm just going to deepen that. So that is where I'm going to touch my face, okay? Now we don't touch our face out here. We don't naturally have a shadow here on our cheek. We naturally have the deepest part of our shadow where? Back by the ear. So that's where you want to touch your brush first, because the most product is going to be deposited wherever you touch your face first. So if you're having issues with like a big glob right here that you're having to try to work and blend out, and then you're losing all your coverage there because you're trying to blend it and blend and blend it, it's because you're touching there first. It's very simple techniques. It's nothing fancy. Just think about where you're touching. Okay, so I'm going to touch and I'm going to go along that imaginary line, but I'm going to stop about the corner of my eye, because why? This naturally will blend in, but I want the ultimate lift. If I come here, what happens? It drags my face down another inch, okay? Now, there are different techniques for contouring. If you don't have a lot of cheek and volume, you can pull it, but you also have to always take into account your face shape. I have smile lines. I have pretty deep parts right here. And if I was to go any further, it's going to emphasize that depth and just make them look bigger. Or I'm going to get into this area and make me look like I have a mustache. Okay. Neither good. Okay. So I am pressing. You can tell. Do I have plenty of product on my face? Absolutely. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to start pressing along that line that I just placed. I'm not doing anything but using the brush, and I'm pouncing on my face in that exact same location. Now I'm going to start moving upwards towards my temple. Okay? And then I'm going to go along that line and I'm going to slowly press upwards so that this tiny little line becomes not so tiny to where it looks like I have a line on my face, but it is going to fade upwards. And once we put our lip and cheek over this, we're going to have this nice, beautiful ombre that looks natural. A stripe right there does not look natural, but when you fade it out, even though this right here is an extremely dark and defined contour, okay? Not everyone is willing to wear it this dark. I will be honest. It took me years of using this makeup before I'm like, yeah, I love it. I love it defined and I like it like that. But not everyone is ready for that. I promise it comes in time. You get more comfortable. You get more comfortable applying it. You get more comfortable with that strong definition on your face. Okay, so we're just gonna keep going upwards until we are happy. Now, do you see anything peeking through that? No, nothing. Because why? I never once did this motion. I'm only doing little bitty presses to blend. I'm not moving any of that product I placed. I'm a big believer. Application is all in how you're using the brush. The method, the application method is everything. Okay, I'm wearing the exact same colors. Can you tell the difference between the two sides? I mean, it's crazy. Okay, same thing. I'm going to now dip in for my forehead. Okay, same thing, but when I press on, I know I'm gonna put it on until I like the amount of product I have. Okay, once I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Now I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna push it into my hairline to blend, because we never want this like white scalp, right? A scalp showing. Okay, now, what did I say about the forehead? No definition. My pet peeve is this right here. Can't stand definition on the forehead. Is that natural? No. Do we have a bone there? No. There's no cheekbone there. This is different. This, we are creating depth to lift cheekbones. There's no bone there. That's flat. This needs to blend, okay? It should be a general ombre from light to dark to frame out the face. Now, if you go down farther here, you can narrow, and farther here will make your forehead look shorter, but no definition, okay? Same thing under the jawline. We're gonna have the most shadow back here by the ear. So we put it there. We go up under the jaw. We don't want to stripe on the side of our face here. Again, there's no bone right here that we're trying to pop, okay? Now there are techniques to kind of like make our jowls look less defined. And it is just gentle, dark contour the jowl, because dark pushes back, light brings forward. If you brighten here and you add contour on that area, it's gonna give the appearance of less jowls, right? So we're gonna blend down the neck, okay? We always wanna make sure we don't leave a stripe. I hate the stripe. Okay, so last but not least, nose. And this, I'm gonna just, right where my nose starts curving downward, I'm just gonna kind of draw a little line right there and kind of feather it up and then darken the tip. That's it. And then I can use this to naturally shadow the lower lip. Okay, so let's get in a little closer. Okay, so here's the side where I color corrected. Now this is still a little heavy for me. I haven't got to my magic step yet, but I've got good coverage. I'm not seeing any redness peeking through. This looks cool on me. I can't really see a whole lot of contour, but I can see all my spots, right? I got very little coverage from the dot method over here. It does not work for my skin, and I don't recommend it for mature skin at all, but that is for another video. So, there you go. This right here looks like I just bruised on the lip because I didn't blend it out well because I used my finger. So always make sure you're really using a brush to blend. You guys know I'm a huge believer in the Perfector, but I don't think it's enough to blend out contours on their own. They're too dry, and I feel like you're gonna be using this for a good 15 to 20 minutes to get it to blend out, when you could easily just pick up a brush and blend something out with a brush. Our brushes are dense, meaning they're designed to blend our cream makeup, okay? Before I perfect this, I wanna show you guys real quick. I'm gonna use indigo, which is even warmer. And I'm gonna show you how I would blend out this side. I'm gonna apply more because I feel like, yes, if you blend it all away, the only way to fix it, you have to apply more. Okay, so let's see what would happen if I put a stripe on my face with the warmer color, okay? And we blend with, say, a different brush. Let's try to blend with this. Actually, we blended with this one the first time. Let me show you how I would use this to blend the right way. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to start pressing. Okay, now I'm going to take the brush and try to, because this is a harsh line, and this, I do feel like the detail, kind of this line of it, this straight edge can kind of help break that up a little bit easier than this curved edge of the 3D. But we're gonna try it. So we're gonna keep blending upwards, and we're gonna kind of take the bristles and kind of flick them upwards so that so we're kind of trying to break up some of that harsh line. And just because I can see it happening, I'm gonna show you what happens. Can you guys zoom in and see how it's patchy sitting in my pores? And I just exfoliated, but I didn't color correct this side first. And it literally just looks like dark, almost like blackheads sitting in my pores. And that is not an area of concern of pores for me. Maybe it should be, but that was never an area that I was that concerned about. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep trying to blend this out. And you'll notice how much longer it will take me to blend out this stripe. And yet it doesn't go on as smoothly. In fact, it looks too low, I feel like here. So maybe try to clean it up a little with my highlight brush. And it's pretty evident how much warmer it is. Even though I feel like this is darker, I see it much less than the cooler side. And some of you might think that this is too heavy. You know, sometimes when I'm demonstrating, it can be hard to not put it on too heavy, but same thing. You can just kind of flick upwards. I haven't perfected yet. It'll take off a little, but okay. So can you tell the difference between the two sides? Hopefully. Let's go ahead and perfect so you guys can see what it looks like. So no matter what, and I did not brighten or anything. I skipped that, okay? I'm just going to perfect so you guys can see what it will look like. I feel like this side doesn't need perfecting because I can't even see any makeup on my face. This is what the makeup looks like when you're using a method that doesn't work for you. This is my main shade without color correction and without controlling how much I'm applying. It floors me still. No brightener, Mango Sandy, just Sandy, Indigo, Astoria. I know I personally can't, so I'm gonna take pictures, make sure you guys see it before I redo this side of my face before my daughter's basketball game. All right, let's recap. The top 3 troubleshooting issues with contour will be the wrong color. Our contours are pretty universal. It's not the most important part of your match, but there are certain contours that you should be matched to depending on your overall skin tone and maybe concerns. So redness, texture, all things that can really, I'd say, be emphasized by your contour. So make sure you have the right one in your general skin tone. If it is pulling you gray or not blending or patchy or dirty or any of those things, make sure you tell your artist the issue you're having, the color you're wearing, and they should be able to tell you how to adjust your shade, or try applying your contour after your highlight. That could fix all of your issues. It can be no longer be pulling you too warm. It can suddenly blend out. It can suddenly give you better longevity. For me, this method changed everything for me. Can you tell? It took my makeup from good to amazing, okay? So know that there are always new techniques you can try. There's endless amounts of techniques for this makeup, okay? Okay, then application technique, not applying enough. If you're using your brush and dipping in, you can always go back and dip in more and keep applying. When you use your fingers and apply everything and then just take one brush, kind of blend it all together, you're gonna have much less control over the coverage and the blend you're gonna get from your makeup. And just know that that is something you might sacrifice for maybe a faster application, and you're gonna get a much more natural look and usually less coverage with that method. Okay, so if you do have mature skin or a lot of concerns like hyperpigmentation, redness, rosacea, blemishes, under eyes, all of those things, know that other methods that can help you get better coverage and better longevity as well. And then last but not least, overblending. I feel like overblending is the number one reason why people say they have the wrong color or they're not able to see it well on their face, and it's just because our contours blend out easily. I'd rather have them blend out easily than not be blendable, right? So just all it takes, tapping, pressing. You don't have to swipe. You don't have to put even a lot of pressure, but just this tapping motion, the same way I tap into the creams is the way I tap onto my skin and just slowly tap to move that brush and blend it out. It really does blend that easily. Okay, then remove excess and you're golden. And if it is the way your contour looks, I recommend the detail, always and forever. If you're wanting a defined contour, this brush is where the magic happens. The 3D brush will apply a little bit more of a larger line on your face. So if that's an issue, you can use your finger to draw on your stripe like I showed here and then try to blend it out. But just know you're gonna spend more time blending, and you could definitely apply and blend at the same time with something like the detail brush. It just made my life easier. It made me more efficient and more consistent at contouring. So that's why you will never see me contour with any other brush. All right, friends, so there it is, some contouring, troubleshooting tips and tricks. I hope that was helpful. Now, if you have specific questions over your contour shades or your skin or your highlight colors, my color match request is in the drop box below the video. You can fill that out. I can help you troubleshoot any issues you might have. Just make sure you are telling me what colors you're currently using, any issues you're seeing, so I know on your color match what I need to address for you. I hope that was helpful and you learned something new. Thank you guys, as usual, for being here, and I will see you guys next week. Love you. Bye.